Evolution is a fact. It has been confirmed to such a degree that it would be perverse to withhold provisional assent. And yet there are those who deny it, saying that instead of evolving from earlier forms through natural selection, species were created in their current forms by God and have remained unchanged since. These same people say that the Earth is not billions of years old, but thousands. This is not just incorrect, it is perverse. It wasn't always so. As late as the 18th century, it was reasonable to hold what we'd now call a young Earth creationist view. But then scientific evidence started to be discovered that made such a view less and less tenable. First, it became evident that life was innately organized into a nested hierarchy. While the fine details of how it should be described were up for debate, the broad strokes of the hierarchy appeared to be built into the structure of life itself. The Linnaean system of kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species reflects this natural hierarchy. Next, the study of geology began to provide evidence that the Earth was much older than previously thought. The more the Earth was studied, the older it seemed to be, first thousands of years old, then tens of thousands, then millions, and eventually billions of years. Fossils found in the rocks could be arranged by how old the rocks were, and it became evident that different types of life lived on the Earth at different points in time. Studies of embryology revealed startling similarities in the developmental stages of vertebrate animals that seemed to suggest that mammals had developed from a reptile-like ancestor that had developed from a fish-like ancestor. By the 19th century, it was becoming more and more accepted that species evolved, though the mechanism by which this worked remained mysterious. When Charles Darwin proposed natural selection as the mechanism for evolution, it was as if the pieces of a vast puzzle clicked into place. Suddenly the nested hierarchy, the ancient age of the Earth, the fossil evidence of past life, and the embryonic similarities of species that were neighbors in Linnaeus' taxonomy all made sense. The nested hierarchy was a family tree. The similarities between species close together in that hierarchy was a family resemblance between relatives. Now, not all the pieces of the puzzle were in place yet. There were still gaps. Many transitional fossils remained to be discovered, and it was not yet understood how traits were passed down from one generation to the next. At that time, to accept Darwin's theory, one had to accept it on the provision that those missing pieces would be found and would fit. Those pieces are no longer missing. Transitional fossils have been showing up for 150 years since Darwin, showing up where, when, and in the forms predicted by the theory. Radiometric dating now allows us to assign absolute ages to the rocks that previously we could only put in order by relative age. The science of genetics, and in particular the discovery that DNA is the genetic material, explains how traits are passed from one generation to the next. And to cap it all off, sequencing the genomes of living things now allows us to reconstruct the lineages of related species, pinpointing the order they branched off from one another in the family tree. All these lines of evidence agree with one another and show exactly the pattern we'd expect to see if Darwin had it right. The weight of the evidence is simply overwhelming. It has been confirmed to such a degree that it would be perverse to withhold provisional assent. Evolution is a fact. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more like this, subscribe to my channel or click the links on the right to see more science-y goodness. As always, if you have any questions or concerns, let me know in the comments.